We have been exploring adventuring for the last 10 years, and a big part of adventuring is preparing your body. For us, trying to keep our fitness interesting and trying to keep ourselves motivated, we tend to try and focus on these 3-month segments of fitness.
Because we're genetically identical, we can compare various different foods, training regimes, and find out what works for us. So we wanted to test plant v animal, what was the best, what was the worst, what were the benefits, what were the drawbacks, and uncover something new.
We dubbed ourselves as the adventure guinea pigs because over the years we've taken part in research at the Department of Twin Research at King's College London.
We wanted to use the model of identical twins, who are genetic clones, in order to test the effects of diet and exercise on the way they respond to foods.
I was on the vegan diet and it really does take a hit on your body. I think the first couple of weeks it was really craving of wanting meat and dairy and cheese. Love cheese. I was now having to eat fruit and nuts and alternatives that didn't have any dairy, and so that meant I was eating a lot more wholesome food, which meant that my sugar levels were a lot more satiated during the day. I felt like I had more energy.
Performance was up and down a little bit more for me on my meat diet. I'd have a few days where I was very energetic in the gym, and then I'd have huge lulls as well, whereas Hugo is far more sustained and satiated with energy levels.
I think the interesting thing is how they differ in their responses to sugars and fats, despite being identical twins. Ross was actually above average for the way he processed fats and sugars, whereas Hugo was below average. We believe that there's a big non-genetic element to that is driven a lot by our gut microbes. If you treat them right, they will produce thousands of different chemicals that will keep your body in the best shape. They will help your immune system to fight infections. They will go to your brain to make you not feel over-hungry or not stressed or depressed. And we find on average that most identical twins only share between 25 and 30% of their microbes with each other. And we think this is why many of their metabolism is different and they react to foods differently. And that's, in a way, an example why all of us react differently to foods.
Being a vegan and going through that 12-week period, my diversity of gut bacteria severely dropped.
Whereas mine stayed the same, which meant that I was less susceptible to illness.
It could be that diversity he was getting from dairy products and those other fats in meats led to a slight reduction in the diversity. They're already in the top 5% of their gut microbiome health, so it's hard for them to push it further than that. So the first thing is to give yourself, try and aim to have 30 different plants a week to give it that diversity. Second is to always try and pick plants that have these natural chemicals called polyphenols in them, which gives them the bright colours or the bitter tastes. Things like brightly coloured berries or nuts or seeds, things like coffee, things like dark chocolate, and even red wine. Thirdly, probiotic. Having foods that contain live microbes themselves, like traditional yogurt, kefir, kombucha. And finally, it's cutting out ultra-processed food.
Watching Hugo eat all his vegan food, you do realise how much processed or, I say, crap food you do eat compared to a vegan, and you do become quite aware. You go, oh God, like, you feel guilty the whole time when you're next to somebody eating very, very healthy food.
On average, vegans are healthier than meat eaters, but within that there's a huge range, and there's some very unhealthy vegans and vegan diets. And it does depend on the quality of the food. It's not about whether you have meat on your plate or not. And many vegans often find themselves eating ultra-processed food because of reformulating standard foods, particularly dairy substitutes and meat substitutes, that are probably as unhealthy as eating processed meats.
The medical and scientific research that monitors us all agree that there's not a huge difference, if any, between the two diets.
It's just the small ones. We both have high cholesterol because we lose a lot of weight on expeditions. Hugo's cholesterol dropped off the scale on the vegan diet, whereas my regular meat diet just stayed the same.
My obesity level dropped. My resistance to type 2 diabetes also increased.
They're looking for small incremental effects that athletes tend to look at. It's very much understanding how your body's working so you can tailor your nutrition optimally. And athletes do it to improve performance. Normal humans would do it just to feel less tired, feel less hungry, put on less weight over a year.
I've slightly changed my diet in the sense that I eat a lot more different things. Eat the rainbow, eat everything in moderation. Yeah, have a balanced diet. That's really the key, I think.
If somebody says, right, you need to do this certain diet with these weights to get the results, question it a little bit. Just go and have fun with it, experiment, find out what works for you.